Good morning, Saints. Happy Wednesday morning. Blessed Wednesday morning. So, yeah, it's still overcast and wet. It's been raining, so we got a moment between downfall or downpours. And so, this is the best lighting around, okay? So, the house is so dim. I was just talking. I'm like, yeah, we're going to have to do something about this because on these gloomy days, the vanity lighting is not cutting it in the house at all. There's not a bright light to be found. And so this is what we have to work with. And so for today, I just want to kind of like touch base, different things that went over the last 2 weeks that caused me to become distracted for sure. And it was a trial and a test, and I'm not gonna say that I passed with flying colors, but but it did push me to a limit for sure. And so let me just get in, and let me just say this first of all, Saints. I don't say none of this to throw stones, because because I'm not nobody to be doing such a thing. But also, I want to be able to share my life experiences because this is the story of my life, right? And I need to be able to share these things with others so they can learn what can be learned from it, okay? And I don't mind sharing at all, right? And so, as those who recently know, you've been watching, I recently met a lady who we shared the same birthday, and one thing led to another. She was instrumental in me getting work. Okay, now when it came time to get paid, my boss, who was out of town at the time, which I wasn't aware of, I didn't get paid that day. Okay, and so this person, this lady, what I failed to mention before because it was irrelevant at that time, was she is a lesbian. She's a homosexual and a stud. For those who don't know, she would be the man in a lesbian relationship, right? Okay, not my first rodeo dealing with these kind of people. And for the most part, they usually be chill, easy to get along folks, right? But a lot of them, they take that I'm a woman trying to be a man overboard, okay? So now, and so that's what was beginning to happen here as we begin to communicate more and different things that come up. And I would begin to see that, okay, yeah, you're a weirdo, okay? And so she decides to go behind my back to my boss and pick my pay up. I didn't ask her to do that. She did that all of her own accord. And then refused to give me my money, right? Was coming up with all these different excuses, had me and my ex-wife ripping and running here and there, thinking that I'm going to pick up. She was playing games, right? Now, I went around to her property and took her lawnmower and texted her and said, I have your lawnmower. You give me my money, you'll get your mower back. Or you keep the money, I'll keep the mower, lose my number, don't never want to talk to you again. Okay, so she thought she had to win. I'm calling the police. Call them. Call them. Call them. In fact, I should have thought. Please, by all means, call them. So long story short, she calls the police. Of course, they know me from just who I am, and then long story short, that they ended up getting my money back from her, and she got her mower back. Okay, so everything's done with that issue. But my point being, Saints, is that I just want to show. See, it's you could almost understand that coming from somebody who may have been a drug addict, right? That kind of thinking. But no, this she wasn't at all. She's just a woman who is of a reprobate mind. Okay, and so I just wanted, that's the lesson for this devotion is going to be talking about people with reprobate minds. All right. So in the book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 28 to 32, and that says, and even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do things which are not convenient, but filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. Amen. And so, so that just goes to show dealing with people like that. All right, so in the Bible, a reprobate mind, as described in Romans 1:28, refers to a state of moral corruption and spiritual depravity where individuals, having rejected God's knowledge and truth, are given over to a life of sin and wickedness. It signifies a condition where a person's conscience is hardened and they are unable to discern right from wrong, ultimately leading to them to embrace actions that are considered immoral and harmful. And that is such the case with this particular individual. Now, mind you, the few times that we rode around and had to go get supplies or whatever, she's playing Christian music and is presenting herself as a Christian lesbian stud. Now, I knew that ultimately we were going to have a talk about that, but we're just meeting, and we're not ready for that conversation. But I already knew I was going to have it in my mind to say, well, your lifestyle is not appropriate, right? You're presenting yourself as a Christian person, but you're a lesbian stud. How does that work, right? But we were gonna get there. Thank God that we never went that far down the road to have that conversation because her reprobate mind began to show itself. Okay, and for some reason she thought she could just take it in herself to go pick up my money and keep it, and thinking that I was just going to accept that, right? And that is the problem with most people. They think that they don't have to suffer consequences for their actions, right? It's not them, but everybody else around them that are wrong. It's a reprobate mind, and in my life, that just seems to be the company of people that I meet and come across. Right? It's not my first rodeo dealing with a reprobate mind. And saints, I want to encourage you in that to be aware of that, of those who are, and seeing that as the problem with the community of those people, because they come from a reprobate mind. They're spiritually bankrupt, and I don't care how many gospel songs they know or all that. A lot of them try to make their lifestyle be okay with God, right? And that's just not the way it works. And so, saints, just be aware of that. I want to encourage you this day to be able to pay attention to those who have darkened minds and darkened hearts, because their thinking processes are absolutely is totally different from what you would expect. Because one would ask the question, well, why would she do something like that? Why indeed? Why indeed? If that's a question somebody can answer, why do people do the things they do? If you could answer that question, you will be an overnight millionaire for sure. Why? Right? Why? 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 But like I said, it's a reprobate mind. It's a darkened mind. It's an empty vessel.